Hello folks, it's Beagle again. I had another parcel arrive, and this follows on from the video I did last week where I bought some cobbled road from a German manufacturer designed for model railroads for their layouts and so on. And once I'd cut it to the width that I wanted, I decided that the streets were perhaps a tad narrow and perhaps I ought to think about having some pavements. Now, I did look online for what sort of products are available, and I briefly toyed with the idea of actually paying out and buying some of the foreground pavements. They do them in two widths, 15mm width and 12mm width, both suitable for 15mm gaming. They also do a version for 28mm gaming, but anyway. So a set, which didn't seem to be a lot, to be honest, was about 14 quid. Perhaps a bit more when you throw in postage and so on. So I sort of balked at that sort of expense and decided I would look at other alternatives. Having bought this model railroad layout terrain material, I was looking on some various other sites, so not just eBay, and I came across a different product, something that I looked at it and I thought, you know what, if that's as good as it looks, I might be able to make some pavements out of it. So today's purchase was from a company called Model Railroads Direct Limited, and basically what I have purchased is some textured pavement cards. Now, I don't know if you can see very clearly there. So nice small sized cobbles. So suitable for N gauge, which is a good analogue for 15mm. Basically this is designed so that you can cut it up and use it as pavements. Now I'll move the box out of the way. These were £1.58 each. So basically pretty damn cheap. And I've got more than enough here to make plenty of pavement for my 15mm settings. And what I'm going to do is I am going to mount them. I'm going to cut them into strips of about 15mm wide, or maybe a little bit narrower, and mount them on the same black foam that I mounted the roads on, with a tiny amount of overlap, just so it overlaps the edge slightly, so they look slightly taller than the road, which they should do. I mean, we're talking like a fraction of a millimetre here, but it will look the part. So basically I will try and overlap the foam I mount this on by perhaps a millimetre at most, just so that it can go over the edge. So when I put them next to the road, it will go over the edge of the road, and I should end up with a load of pavement. And I can do some corner sections and so on to go with the textured road that I purchased and showed you last week. So as usual, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go off and I'm going to make some of this pavement, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. But I'm quite hopeful that it's going to look very good. There's a slight texture to this material. It's actually sort of embossed in the cobbles pattern. The cobbles themselves are different shades, so you've got a bit of variation in colour, so I quite like that. And it's on a hard card, so you know, with a sharp knife it will cut nice, and as before I will use my steel ruler to get a nice sharp line for it. And I've got enough material here to make plenty of different pavements of slightly varying widths and so on, and different shapes, maybe corners like I say, and so on. But it was so cheap that with a little bit of work I think I can turn this into more than enough pavement that I need for the amount of road that I've made, and certainly a lot more than I would have got if I'd have paid for, say for instance, the foreground pavement sets. And some of the other things that I'd considered were the printable sheets of it's not printable terrain, but of course that comes out flat on paper, whereas this has been textured so you've got a little bit of texture to it, and it's good quality. It's not like doing home printing where you get any sort of moisture on it and the colours can run and so on. This is fixed and sealed in, so I think this is a much better material. I didn't even know that this sort of thing existed, and there's all sorts of stuff out there, including things like tiled roofs and fences and stuff like that. Not all of it in a scale suitable for the games I play, but nonetheless, now that I know that this stuff exists, I'll be going out and looking for a lot more of it. Now, I'm probably late to the game here. Some of you have probably already know about this product. I'm thinking, Lee, why didn't you know this existed? Well, now I do, and I will be taking full advantage of this new source of potential wargaming terrain material. So I'm going to cut some strips, mount them on the foam as a sort of proof of concept, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So here they are, cut and shaped and next to my road, and I think that looks pretty good. Very cheap. I've only made the 2 pieces so far just as a sort of proof of concept, and as described, what I've done is I've overlapped the cobbled surface from the rubber underneath by about 1 millimetre. The next ones I'll make the overlap slightly larger, because that works, but it would work better with a bit more overlap, I think. But you know, it will hold in place better, I think, with a bit more overlap, and certainly that does the job. It does look the part and needs a little bit of fiddling to get it right, but I tend to pin down some of my terrain to stop it moving when I'm using it, and the other thing is these long pieces will move. I might cut them into shorter sections because they're a little bit easier to manage as well, but I've got more than enough. I mean, I only used a tiny part of one of these sheets, just to get a little strip of it. So for the price, very, very cheap. And I quite like the look of that. You've got the cobbled road in the middle and sort of like a slightly different colour, grey, cobbled pavements either side. So you've got a nice street. I quite like that. And that, like I say, for the price, that's worked out really well. So I'm really chuffed with that. And now that I am happy that the product is as I expected, better in fact in some ways, and I know what I'm going to do with it, now I'm going to go back and buy some more. So when I bought those 2 sheets, as I say, they were only about £1.58 each, but then by the time I'd added postage on, it worked out about £3 a sheet. But that's only because I only bought 2 sheets. Next time I'm going to be buying some more of those cobbled sheets, but also some of the roof sheets and some of the other products that I got there, because now that I know what the product is like, I'll buy some more, and that sort of bulk I'll still end up paying the same amount for postage. And bear in mind, I only ordered these yesterday and they came in 24 hours, so I'm also impressed with the shipping from that particular company. So overall, a very good proof of concept, and I'll be buying some more. So there you go, some pavements to go with my cobbled roads.